Hello everyone, this is Phivo Mystery Cases. Today we will talk about the speed of light. Everyone knows that we live in a vast universe, and the upper limit of the speed of object movement is the speed of light. But why? Can we really not exceed the speed of light? Join us as we talk about it some more. In Einstein's theory of relativity has the conclusion that the mass of an object will change with its speed. The mass of the object has such a formula, where m0 is the mass of the object at rest. The speed of the object's movement, c, represents constant, which is the constant of the speed of light in vacuum. So when the object is stationary, so as the quality does not change. With this equation, you will find that the faster the speed of an object is the faster the v. The smaller the denominator of this formula, then the mass will become larger. So Einstein put forward the conjecture that the speed of light is the speed limit. This conjecture needs to be further explored both in practice and in theory, but the theory seems to be correct in view of the current knowledge. The speed of light is the highest speed of the movement of objects in the universe. According to the famous mass-energy conversion formula, E equals mc2, where E represents energy and m represents mass. C as above and representatives of the speed of light in vacuum constant. The speed of light 4 parts per 1 time, then the mass of the object will increase as the speed increases. When the speed of an object is close to the speed of light, its mass will tend to infinity. According to this formula, it is impossible for a mass object to reach the speed of light. The quality of the photon is 0, so that the entire mass of the photon has completely changed the energy of the photon energy, that is, has reached its limit. The speed of the photon also reaches the limit, which is the limit of the speed of light. Electromagnetic waves in a vacuum. The speed of movement is also the same as the speed of light. If the theory of the speed limit of light is correct, then humans will never be able to build a spaceship that reaches the speed of light. Traveling beyond the speed of light is even more impossible. These also limits the time machine and change the history of the situation. But we can still use some means to circumvent the rule of light speed limit to achieve the purpose of super light speed. If there are alien civilizations in nearby galaxies, then considering that all living things have a certain lifespan, Earth's nearest star, a Centauri star, even a board reached 0.99 spaceship times the speed of light to and from the Earth also needs 8.4 years. The legendary gray alien comes from the Zeta binary galaxy 39 light years away from the Earth, and it takes 78 years to travel back and forth. The Orion civilization mentioned in the ancient civilization of the Earth takes 3,000 years to travel to and from the Earth, which is intolerable for any organism that does not exist in an immortal state. This shows that there must be a technology and theory that can bypass the speed limit of light to achieve the purpose of long-distance travel. The fastest aircraft manufactured by mankind is NASA's X-43A, supersonic unmanned reconnaissance aircraft. The supersonic ramjet engine used in 2004, a modified B-52 bomber, carried a Pegasus rocket to 12,000 meters high altitude. The Pegasus rocket was released to accelerate to the speed of sound, and then the X-43A reconnaissance aircraft was released. In the final sprint stage, the X-43A reached a speed of Mach 9.8, which is equivalent to 11,000 km per hour. This is the fastest human plane in the atmosphere. It only takes 1 hour to travel from Manila to Los Angeles, and only 15 minutes to fly from Manila to Osaka. 1969, Apollo 10 lunar spacecraft returned to Earth, accelerated to return to the atmosphere when 40,000 km per hour. In terms of conversion, it is equivalent to 11 km per second, which is the highest speed of manned spaceship in human history, and the 3 astronauts Christopher John Young and Eugene Cernan have become the 3 fastest men in history. Follow the speed to visit the hometown of the aliens. It takes 100,056 years. 1977 travelers number 1. The current rate is 17 kilometers per second, equivalent to 68,000 km per hour. It has been flying 200 billion kilometers, which is the farthest human flight of the aircraft. 28 Parker solar probe in order to study the solar wind emitted, the maximum speed reached 95 km per second, which is 38 km per hour. This is by far the fastest human flying machine, and this speed only reaches 0.003% of the speed of light. If the aircraft using rocket fuels want to fly faster, more fuel must be added. Suppose there is a spaceship weighing 10 tons with increasing speed. According to the mass-energy conversion formula, the energy required to accelerate the spacecraft to the speed of light is infinite. Even if all the energy of the entire universe is used to accelerate the spaceship, let it reach the speed of light, because this is impossible in itself. Common liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen rocket combustion engine in a confined space in the fuel chamber to release the chemical energy of the fuel stored at the high speed, such as the gas discharge. However, it is impossible to reach the upper limit of 0.01% for the speed of light for chemical fuels. So the way to increase the speed of the spacecraft is to find more efficient fuel to drive the spacecraft. Ion engine that does not require a completely withdrawn from the combustion engine are a number of electronic atoms that cause ionization of neutral gas. Generating positive ions in the group of the xenon gas is the fuel. Some of the brighter car headlights are the xenon headlights used to ionize the xenon in the bulb to form an arc discharge and make it glow steadily. Because it is a gas fuel, the spacecraft can carry less fuel. To achieve higher power, it is necessary to know that the fuel of a chemical fuel rocket generally accounts for more than 90% of the rocket mass. In 1998, the United States NASA launched the Deep Space No. 1 detector and the ion engine using xenon as fuel, although the engine power is relatively low, but still reached a speed of 30,000 meters per second in vacuum. The top speed reached 11.5 km per second. So the response is huge. This is the first time the ion engine has been put into practical use. The disadvantage of the ion engine compared with the traditional chemical fuel engine is that it cannot burst like a chemical fuel, a huge thrust in an instant. It takes several months or even years to continue to accelerate to a very amazing speed. The European Space Agency or ESA tested a new type of ion engine loaded with 90% of the spacecraft's fuel and finally reached a speed of 700 km per second, equivalent to 0.002 of the speed of light. We humans are getting closer to the speed of light. Many science fiction movies, some of the cool spacecraft engine, quiet blue light emitted is to use a group of ion thrusters. Solar sail ship. Faster speed can be achieved by a spaceship called solar sail, which uses a large piece of gold-plated material to receive the light pressure of the solar wind, because the light emitted by the sun is like a wave. It is also a tiny solid particle called photon, just like sailing in the sea using sea breeze to blow sails. When photons hit when smooth surfaces will bounce back, and corresponding to the object's striking force, but the thrust generated by a single photon is extremely small. The distance from the Earth to the Sun, the light on 1 square meter solar sails, the thrust generated is only 0.9 times. It is less than the weight of an ant, so these solar sail will be very large. If the surface area of the sail is 1 kilometer times 1 kilometer, it is 1 square kilometer. Then the speed of this solar sail spaceship is 160 km per hour on the first day, depending on the power of the solar wind. But as long as the ion engine is long enough, it can produce a very amazing speed, which can reach 58,000 km per hour in a year. Because the solar wind can reach a very long distance, ESA scientists at ESA estimated that the solar sail spacecraft can finally accelerate to 75,000 km per second, which is 25% of the speed of light. The solar sail can also be used to fight asteroids or meteorites that hit the Earth. If you can find the upcoming meteorite early, you can land the solar sailship on the meteorite in advance so that the meteorite can be accelerated or decelerated to keep it away from the Earth. In the previous video, we mentioned the universe civilization level, and the friends who want to see it can click the pop-up link in the upper right corner to watch it. The large-scale application of solar sail spacecraft will be zero level of civilization across to a hallmark level of civilization. Curvature and gene. Even the speed of light can reach 25% solar sail spacecraft. From the real beyond the speed of light, there is a distance alien. We imagine that if the speed of light is really the ultimate speed of the universe, is a natural law. So even if human beings exhaust everything, they can build a spaceship beyond the speed of light. But there may be many ways to bypass this limitation in the future and achieve the goal of exceeding the speed of light. The special theory of relativity tells us that the faster the spacecraft flies, the more energy it needs. When the spacecraft approaches the speed of light, the energy of acceleration will increase to infinity, and the mass of the spacecraft will also be infinite, making it possible to speed up. This light speed limit seems to be a voice telling us, so far we can go any farther. But Einstein's solution is very clever. In his special theory of relativity, the space is flat, but at the same time, he thinks it cannot be bent. This is general relativity. This theory was soon confirmed by a high-precision astronomical observations of the solar system. Space-time itself is a star with enough mass that can be folded and compressed to bend the surrounding space, just like a flexible cloth. When it is a plane, a heavy ball is placed, and the ball will sink into this, and the behavior of space bending is very similar. In the solar system, because the sun bends the surrounding space, these small balls, that is, the 8 planets, are frozen in the curved space around the sun. This is why the planets rotate around stars. Based on this rationale, 1994 Mexican physicist Miguel Alcubierre published a paper, a detailed description of how to use general relativity space-time distortion is called the warp drive, also called Alcubierre engine. This is a way to achieve superluminal travel through the curved space-time, but in 60 well-known sci-fi dramas, Star Trek, this has been the warp drive as the standard engine of the spacecraft. The curved engine spacecraft uses a mysterious substance that can distort space and time. After activating this material, its gravity compresses the space and time in front of the spacecraft and drags the space and time to the rear of the spacecraft. Not that the spacecraft itself exceeds the speed limit of light, rather, space-time itself moves around the spaceship and it looks when the spaceship starts. It's like being in a bubble and people in the spaceship will not be affected by any gravity. I don't feel anything at all. And in the front of the spacecraft, you can see that all the stars are quickly stretched into a line. And behind the spacecraft, you can see anything. But behind the spaceship, you can see anything. It's dark. Depending on the gravity of the spacecraft, maybe the speed of light, ultralight 10 times or even several times the speed. Peace Engine is a local destination to reach a few hundred light years. It has become possible. Our journey to the hometown of gray aliens may be as simple as walking from your living room to the toilet. Of course, gray aliens may do just that, but the problem is when Alcubierre to ascertain this mysterious substance, the warp drive, when it needs to find this material, needs to have a strong negative energy, and negative of such substances is too strange, and material properties are known completely different. So physicists call this theoretically existing substance strange matter. It may exist inside a neutron star or a black hole because the huge gravitational force of these stars can extremely distort the surrounding space. Even scientists believe there is in the universe a holistic quark stars made of strange matter consisting of quartz star. 2013 in Beijing, in the mass spectrometer BES 3rd and the Japanese KEK's Bell's team found ZC of quark ZC. If this determined that the establishment of great significance, the establishment of multi-quark state physics will be formally established so that a whole new physics will be born. quark stars are very likely to exist. So get this strange substance has become possible warp drive will become a reality, rather strange matter synthesized in the laboratory, but also much more difficult than synthetic antimatter, and exhausting the resources of the entire Earth may only be able to synthesize strange substances of a few atomic levels. And by calculation, if you want to build a travel faster than light 1 times the total amount of warp spaceships strange matter requires equivalent mass of the Sun. This is simply not something that humans can do at present. The Star Trek Enterprise spacecraft has been in service for 2151 years. That is, more than 100 years later. Apparently, 20th century 60 writers for years knew nothing about the power of strange matter. Maybe in the future, we can change the thinking of our invention spacecraft beyond the speed of light, but also to be able to make their own, fast to get somewhere. But for our bodies and the spacecraft itself, it is impossible to accelerate anything with a mass greater than the photon to the speed of light. If we can eventually figure out what is consciousness, is it an energy? Is it a substance? Is soul a wave? If it is a wave, it can also be in a wave. It is impossible to accelerate this wave beyond the speed of light if it exists alone without matter. Maybe in the future, wait for this technology to become. We can travel the entire universe without leaving home, or even go back to the past or the future. But all these need to make us really understand what consciousness is all about. In this way, it seems that studying consciousness is much simpler than studying the speed of light. It is also a level 4 civilization until all this is achieved. Peace out.